Hello and welcome to the Tatiana Show. But boy, either Tatiana has something really wrong with her voice, or this isn't Tatiana talking to you. And I assure you it's the latter. Even though she might be having voice troubles right now, I'm not sure. But I know she was just at the Nexus conference. Of course, you were being joined today by Brian Sovereign as a guest. I've been a guest on this show multiple times, but I've never actually been the guest host. And of course, I'm being joined by the one and only Josh Shigala. I mean, how can I not want to work with this guy?
Oh, thank you very much, Brian. It's always a pleasure to be on the show with you, of course. And yeah, we've got a great show today. Some amazing talent.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into that. I mean, so I know Tatiana was just at the Nexus conference. She was telling me earlier she had a fantastic time out in Aspen. I know I love Aspen. They have like these. Have you ever been to Aspen, Josh?
No, but the show, it did look amazing.
Yeah, now I'll tell you, I've gone there to do some snowboarding. They have like on the side, you know, you're in the middle of all this snow and everything, right on the side of the mountains and the Rockies, and they'll just have like hot tubs, like in the middle of nowhere, and you're just skiing by, and there's just women in bikinis and everything. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah,
hot tubs and bikinis, you can't go wrong.
No, right. I mean, unless there's, well, anyway, this I'm not going to go there. This isn't my show. But anyway, so yeah, it's a real pleasure to be hosting the show with you today. It's a really real pleasure to step in for Tatiana, though nobody can fill those shoes, that's for sure. But yeah, we've got a couple of great guests too. Actually, it's more of a triad, but we've got one at first, and this is Greg Caskey. I hope I got the last name right, but Greg Caskey is doing something called HipHoponomics, and I want to hear all about this. Greg, welcome to the Tatiana Show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, okay, I mean, let's open this up. What is HipHoponomics? I mean, it's amazing most people can even say that, I suppose. But
indeed, it is.
Break it down.
Well, HipHoponomics is the marriage of economics and hip hop, which to me is like the most perfect marriage ever. So it's birthed ultimately out of my own educational experience. I remember being very influenced in high school by a U.S. history teacher I had who was very serious about having us show our understanding of content, not just by multiple choice exams or essays, albeit important assessments, but also through like creative synthesis. And I don't remember much about high school except for those sort of moments where my friends and I would work like endlessly on some Calvin Coolidge rap or something like that, and then present it to the class. And when I got into teaching, that really stuck with me. I'm like, I'm going to do this with my own students.
Just real quick, that's kind of ironic, like Calvin Coolidge rapping. This is a guy, of course, for some people considered the last great U.S. president, right?
That's right.
He's notorious for saying nothing. In fact, I know there's a great story about how somebody made a bet at a party, and Calvin, and this is the early 20th century, and the bet was that Calvin Coolidge, you couldn't get more than 3 words out of him. I think that's what it was. You couldn't get more than 2 words out of him. And the guy took the bet, and he went up to Calvin Coolidge and said, "Hey, I heard I can't get more than 2 words out of you." And Calvin Coolidge just said, "You lose." And it was perfect. So
that's fantastic.
But anyway, please continue.
No, absolutely. So I was doing this more casually in my teaching career until I entered my grad program at the University of Delaware for economics and entrepreneurship, and I committed to developing this more seriously. So I kind of had a library of songs that I had developed as teaching tools with my own students, and it has always worked fantastically in the classroom, whereby I model this for them, and then I task them to do the same thing, with incentives for performance and stuff like that. But with my grad school, I had to commit to doing this as a year-long project twice in a row. So I released HipHoponomics Volume 1 in the spring of 2016, and that got some fanfare on Twitter and stuff like that. But the release of Volume 2, The Man, the Myth, Adam Smith, which basically the album is a lyrical distillation of Smith and, ideas like the division of labor and trade and stuff like that. That caught a lot of media attention regionally in the Philadelphia and Delaware area, and also some national attention. Walter E. Williams covered this in a syndicated column in June.
Well, give us a little breakdown. Can you do one live? Can you just bust one out? Wax lyrical.
Sure. So I went out to California this summer for stuff related to HipHoponomics, and I did a music video in San Diego for my newest track, which is called Why Learn Economics. So here's just a little bit from that. It's like, while I learn economics, I wrote this little sonnet to correct misinformation on the topic. It ain't about the money in your wallet. It's a toolkit for your mind. And once you learn it, bro, ain't nothing gonna top it. You're thinking that it's distant, so you squinting like it's Saturn in the comets, but it's all around you living. It's a pattern. It's mnemonic. Yo, I promise. Call me Jeremiah like a prophet. Yo, you really got to understand the role of prophets. Something like that.
I love it.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know,
great backup beats there, Josh, by the way. But well, you know, you're right. This does kind of fit. I mean, because, you know, I used to listen to, like, you know, P. Diddy and all, well, I still do, you know, a lot of these other, I mean, and they're talking about money all the time. Like, I mean, that's constantly what they're talking about. So you're right. It's a perfect synergy. Keep going.
Indeed, it is a perfect synergy. You know, one of the things I try to get across in that song in particular is I think people think economics is all about like money and personal finance. And indeed, that's a subset of what economics represents. But ultimately, it's about decision making, right? And incentives and opportunity costs and things like that. So, and that relates to everybody, choices. So that's something that really jives with my students, especially when I put it to hip hop. So that's kind of where we are at this point.
It's great. It's great. Do the students go on to do more? Are they in a school that's focused on the arts, or?
No, not at all. So I teach at Delaware Military Academy. So I kind of stick out here like a sore thumb, being somebody like pursuing the arts. Not that it's frowned upon or anything, but I encourage my students. You know, I usually have them write 3 to 4 tracks a semester, and I, you know, incentivize them. The best ones I release along with my album. So it's been fun to actually have some pretty talented students that take their assignment to a new level. And it's, you know, I release their songs on my SoundCloud, and they have over 1,000 plays and stuff like that. So they get really excited about that.
Yeah, being creative is such a great way to learn. You know, doing something you love and getting a bit more creative with these things. I know my sister, she uses art and painting with classes of people, and it's so therapeutic. There's so much stuff comes out, and they really it tends to be more of a fun thing and you always learn when it's more fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I don't want to misrepresent what I'm doing. It's like, I don't do this every day. You know, I think I'd be doing the students like a disservice, and plus you got to keep it fresh anyway. So, and my idea is, you know, I would hate I've developed lyrical lessons to go along with each track. So teachers around the country can use this in their own classrooms. Right. And that's on my website, HipHoponomics.com. But, you know, I don't mean this as a replacement for like digging into the primary source material. Like, so my students were reading excerpts from Adam Smith today from The Wealth of Nations. And I use the songs as a exciting introduction, right, to pique their interest, to walk through the door and get their intellectual engagement that way. Like, oh, there's a hip hop track about this. Let me engage with this, and then we can deal on a deeper level. So that's my goal.
Yeah, you know, well, I think, and you can comment on this, Greg. I mean, I think Josh was hitting at it. Art is so important. Like, I know, you know, as far as anything that ever got me interested in serious economics, you know, not just like the passing stuff on CNN, if you could even call that economics, you know, would be like Ayn Rand, you know, reading Atlas Shrugged or The Fountainhead or something like that. And, you know, but that's fiction, but that's what got me into it. It's like, oh, now that's what makes it interesting. Or even, you know, like in the tech world, you know, I challenge people at anywhere I'm speaking or anything like that. I say, okay, what got you into technology or something? And almost everybody says the same answer, and it's Star Trek. You know, it's not, it's art, you know, it's just a pure fictional art. Or, I mean, and yours isn't even fiction. It's just, you know, it's artistic, it's music and all that. But I think art is so important. And I think it's such a powerful tool, way more powerful than, you know, just some boring textbook. Now, those textbooks, like you said, they're important. You need to go over those, you know, go ahead. Yeah, actually read Adam Smith. Right. But at the same time, I think to get people interested, you got to have that hook. You got to have something to get them into it. I think art is just so powerful for that. I mean, what do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, try teaching about the division of labor to the kids and getting them not to fall asleep, right?
Yeah, I mean, so, you lost them at the word division. They're just like, what are you talking about?
So in that vein, I have one of my tracks on HipHoponomics Volume 2 is called Division of Labor, where, you know, I unpack some key Smithian insights set to a Nas beat, right? So, you know, I totally agree with what you just said. And it's heartening to me that there's research being done on this kind of like using hip hop as a pedagogical tool specifically in an economics classroom. That's happening at the collegiate level. So I thought it was just sort of me doing this, but I've become acquainted with a few economists that are researching and doing scholarly work on this. So that's been heartening for me.
So this is a whole movement. Go ahead, Josh.
Oh no, I was just going to ask if oh no, that's a good question actually. It's a whole movement.
Yeah. So the trickier part, my dream is to start a movement by which students all around the country, that's why I run HipHoponomics competitions, and I'm still in the process of finalizing the details for my fall HipHoponomics competition. So last year, I offered prize money through the University of Delaware to students who wrote and recorded and uploaded to SoundCloud a song that was about free trade versus protectionism, right? And the winning song got $250, and I'm really hoping to expand that this fall and get a lot more participation, especially because the word is, this is a much more well-known movement in my area compared to the spring. So yeah, my goal is that it wouldn't be about me, but rather that it would be about the art that the students are producing and getting them to think critically about economic stuff, all while creating like not bad hip hop,
So have you busted into the new economics of cryptocurrencies and being able to test economic theory on a coin and have it voluntarily played with in a free market? Do you go down there? Do you bust a rhyme on that?
I have no tracks to date that are regarding cryptocurrencies, but that doesn't mean I'm not open to it.
Yeah, I think it sounds great.
We cover cryptocurrencies to some extent in class. Just I think students without thinking about this any deeper, just like, money is money because like that's what the government like provides us or whatever, right? But no, it's actually whatever groups of people deem as valuable as a medium of exchange, right? Yeah. So once you can gain that ground with them, then a whole bunch of possibilities are on the table.
That's awesome.
I kind of wonder, do you ever run into, I don't know how often cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin or anything like that, would come up in any of your classes. Mm-hmm. But like I funny thing that I see happen with people when they start thinking about Bitcoin, it's like, wait a minute, why does this have value? Is then they start questioning all money. And they're just like, wait a minute, why does any of this have any kind of value? Yeah. And that can lead, honestly, it could lead to a very almost nihilistic perspective, mm-hmm. on a lot of this. Do you ever encounter that with any of the young folk, or is that does that not come up?
Yeah, and again, this doesn't come up so often. Sometimes, and like we do current events every single day and things like that. But when it does come up, especially when you present the idea to them, like, hey, you take a $100 bill to the bank and say, hey, I'd like to trade this in, and the banker says, okay, well, what do you want, like 5 20s or 10 10s or whatever, right? It's not like you can redeem this of something of intrinsic value. You can only trade the paper for the paper. So yeah, as soon as that dawns upon the student, you see some faces change.
Imagine.
Yeah, but yeah, who knows? I don't know if any students are losing sleep over that precisely, but I love to get them thinking about alternatives.
Yeah. Because I could definitely see people getting really, and I think, to some degree with cryptocurrencies and, these alternative, economic tools that exist, I think a lot of people are they're scared of them, not because that they're inherently evil, because they're not. It's just a tool, sure. But because I don't think they like the truths that it highlights, mm-hmm. and whether consciously or unconsciously, and they sort of want to, steer clear of them. So
absolutely.
That makes sense. But yeah, so I love this is HipHoponomics. In fact, it reminds me, this kind of thing has melded before. I remember when I was a kid in the 90s, watching like Power Rangers, and they had what was called hip hop keto, which is like this hip hop version of keto, of martial arts. So these kind of mixtures, they happen. But what do you think? Do you think this might sound like a silly question, but really, like, do you think hip hop has like this unique property that makes it work well for this? Certainly, because I guess you can add in all the words and everything. The lyrics can kind of just flow. But like, could there be like, metal economics or anything like that? What do you think about that sort of stuff?
Yeah, actually, people have approached me with that idea, like based more towards like rock music and implementing economics concepts. And I play the guitar and do some guitar stuff, so I've been open to that. But I'm really trying to focus on the hip hop. But to your question, I think the hip hop has like cross-cultural appeal compared to other genres. Like whereas rock is going to be popular in the burbs, I guess, and maybe in the country, it's not going to be popular in the city. But hip hop is popular in the city and in the burbs and perhaps like in the country as well. I think it has much broader cultural reach, and also simply because of how fast like you're speaking and performing, you can fit a lot of content in there, which is valuable with what I'm trying to convey. And also because economics comes out of philosophy, it lends itself a lot to like, you know, rap battle, right? Taking sides of philosophical debates. So I've got songs on free trade versus protectionism. I have songs on both sides of the Brexit issue, on the minimum wage issue, and I have like Walter Williams and Bernie Sanders sound bites like going back and forth.
Right. So you get to play both sides.
Yeah, and even though I have my own strong views on all these issues that are probably not dissimilar from yours, my goal with all these tracks is that the students would not know like what my perspective is. I just want to use them merely as teaching tools, and so they can be more well informed with whatever choice they make. But you know, more often than not, like people come out in, like my students come out favoring like market-based mechanisms more so than the reverse. But you know, my goal is to represent both sides really well, even though it's hard for me to write pro minimum wage bars.
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's, I get it. And in fact, that is, you're right. That part of it particularly, I think would be unique to hip hop, to rap and all that, is that you could have those kind of opposing sides, because otherwise it would come off, I don't know. I mean, if it was like metal or rock, it'd have to be dueling guitars, or, I mean, you could have two singers, but I think it'd end up being very confusing and you'd lose it.
Have you seen the Rap the News guys out of Australia?
No, I've not.
They've been around for a while. Yeah, they're good.
What do they do? What's
they basically rap the news, but they also get into the conspiracy stuff, and they're like,
oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I've been thinking of getting into a current events rap, but it's like, you know, I have a tendency to overwhelm myself with projects, so that's maybe one for the future. But that's very interesting.
Yeah,
yeah, and I'm really excited to see what comes of my fall competition, just because students really produced some excellent hip hop tracks on free trade versus protectionism last spring. So hoping for more of the same this fall, but just expanded.
So, I mean, has anything, and again, this might sound like another silly question, but really, like, you know, if this stuff, you know, it garnered enough of an audience, which it sounds like it already is. I mean, like, really, would you do something akin to a concert? Like, I mean, would you do a tour? You know what I mean, right? Like,
well, I've been asked by, so it's many funny things have come out of this. So, are you familiar with Russ Roberts?
It's not ringing the bell for me.
Okay, yeah. So he produced the Keynes versus Hayek raps, which have like over 10 million views.
I've seen these. Okay.
Oh,
yeah. So he doesn't perform them, but he wrote them. So a collaboration with him has come about of it. Another economist asked me to perform live at the American Economics Association annual meeting, like where like all the Nobel Prize winners come to. So I'm going to be rapping at that this January. So yeah, basically all these doors have presented themselves, and I keep saying yes to them, you know. And it's interesting. I never thought that this was going to be anything more than just me presenting content to my students and them doing stuff also. But you know,
well, this is what happens when you do what you love. Stuff just opens up. Things open up, and you start heading in the right direction. Yeah,
it's been very encouraging for me in that way, and you know, especially because sort of, and I'm not sure how much you guys can relate to this, but you know, as like an artist or a creator of content or whatever, it's like an emotional up and down. Like the highs are really great, but the lows are like, oh, I never want to produce anything else again. But you know, all this attention and encouragement from outside sources kind of keeps me going, I guess. But I do believe in it myself also.
I could imagine you like Robin Williams up there, you know, on the table. Do people say "Captain, my captain" to you after?
No, not yet.
You know, I'll tell you, I would think, I mean, honestly, like me personally, I would have thought that something like the idea of, that's why I said it might have sounded like a silly question, but you know, I don't think it is. Like I would have thought, you know, quoting Adam Smith in a rap song or something just wouldn't hit, you know, with a big audience. But then you have shows like Hamilton and all this stuff that are literally about
exactly,
you know, I like Alexander Hamilton, and it's the biggest thing in the world right now.
Yeah, for some reason, history and economics are like the cool thing. And I'll never understand that, but I mean, I think it's fantastic, you know, but I'm sort of a dork for this stuff.
Oh,
you know, I love it. But it's heartening that the general public is, you know, willing to consume this for leisure to some extent. So that's also encouraging to me.
Sure. I mean, but how about that? Would you ever consider like doing a, you know, like a play you know, I mean, a Broadway kind of thing?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I've talked to a few people and have been approached by a couple other individuals. So there's nothing solid in the works, but that idea, I've discussed that with a few people before, but nothing solid in the works at this point.
No, I think that would be phenomenal.
Can the students make a film clip?
Yeah, so that's I've made 4 music videos so far. And, you know, this fall I'm going to be focused just again on students recording tracks, just the audio version. But I'd love to expand this to where, you know, the students are producing music videos along with their tracks and stuff like that. But, you know, try to move like one step at a time and not try and bite off too much as this advances forward. But ultimately, I would love this to be like, you know, expand city to city and just find the right passionate, you know, economics educator in each city that wants to run similar sort of competitions and get it sponsored and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to perfect the method in Delaware and the Philadelphia area at this point.
Nice.
Well, I think it's wonderful. I mean, especially, you know, and education in real economics is so huge. People just normally don't get it. You know, you're lucky if you can get somebody to read even as short a book as like, was it Hazlitt's Economics in One Lesson?
Oh yeah. Yeah. My students read excerpts from that. And yeah, it's discouraging when, you know, students like complain about like, this is one page, you know, but you know, it's heartening for me. Like, you know, I persist in getting primary source material in front of them, and then they're become more willing to engage with it once they know that they can understand it with a little bit of effort.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh, unless you have anything else,
let's lay down a track for those that are listening on this offline. For those that are listening, on SoundCloud.
So a little bonus for the podcast listeners. We're gonna put in one of these hot tracks. We're gonna put it right in here, and then we'll be right back with another guest. But Greg, before we cut to the track, if you want to let us know, where can everybody find out about HipHoponomics? Where can they follow you? All of
Sure. Well, thank you. HipHoponomics.com, that has all my music and bio and press and stuff like that. And you can follow me on Twitter at @BarSpitterCask.
Bar Spitter. All right. Well, we'll spell that out in the show notes.
Yeah. So that's where you can follow me for the most part.
Fantastic, Greg. I think this is incredible work. I think this is a genuinely exciting and unique stuff that hopefully won't be so unique in the future.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been fun talking with you guys.
All right. And we'll cut to the track here.
Man.
Thanks, Greg.
Absolutely. See ya.
All right. So you just heard the track. Go for it, Josh.
No, you go, man.
Sorry. Well, I was just gonna say, you just heard the track from Greg there, the HipHoponomics. Just phenomenal stuff that I think is really, really so cool. But we've got another guest for you. This stuff ain't over yet. So, Josh, why don't we bring on Cardiff and Jacqueline of Cryptos versus Metals? There they are. Fantastic.
Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah, no worries. Tell us about yourselves. You guys are from Crypto versus Metals LLC.
We're the sole founders, the sole investors, and we started this company the end of May when we had all of our credit card debt invested into Ethereum. And, you know, we had been following cryptocurrency since the end of 2015 into 2016. January of 2016 is when we first invested into Ethereum, and we've just been learning to live on $0 a day. We were like homeless, living out the back of a truck, traveling the Midwest through Utah, Nevada, New Mexico, and California. And you know, it was great. You know, we had gained something that people don't normally get, and that is their freedom of time. We no longer had to go to a job. We didn't have to like do the rat race and, you know, try and figure stuff out. Like we were figuring it out on our credit cards. We threw it all into crypto, and now we got a media company to try and educate people.
So you ended up doing fairly well with Ethereum, with crypto in general. I mean, that was like you just kind of risked it all the eggs in one basket, and you said, let's do this, and it worked. Is that what I'm getting?
Well, I mean, we had a diversified portfolio of Bitcoin and Ethereum and Steam, and, you know. But yeah. I mean, we went all in a bit earlier than we should have. And, you know, January of 2017, I was looking at bankruptcy because we had lost about like 50% of our portfolio with my, you know, margin trading and stuff like that. But, you know, I had to hold back. I had to sit down and I had to just like relax. You know, investing is not something where you keep making trades to make more money. Investing is where you just sit on your investment because you know something great is going to come of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really always that fine line, isn't it? Where it's like, am I being irresponsible or am I being responsible? Because I really believe in this thing that's happening, and I can see it. And you know, during that time when Mt. Gox popped, 2 years just sitting there at $200-300 and 400 and you know, paying bills and all this stuff racks up, and you're like, man, you know, you're getting rid of all your coins, and you know they're just going to be way more worth more. Even though so many people you tell, they're like, no, that's a scam, and or whatever, and you think, no, you just don't understand it.
Right.
It's coming. It's like, it's so bright, the light. Like it sounds very biblical. I didn't mean it like that, but like I saw it more like a train coming at you. You know, like this huge train just coming at you in terms of change.
I was called crazy and manic for being like, you got to get into this crypto stuff. Like, it's decentralized, so it's against the banks. Don't you understand? This is a revolution.
It gets the left, it gets the right, it gets everyone out of the system.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the media company you guys are doing? You guys?
Yeah, so our main focus is an animated series. Let me turn off my video just to show you a glimpse of what we have. So that's kind of our logo. It's really zoomed in, but you know, we are creating an animated series that is mostly going to be like Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z mixed with financial education. And so we're going to be teaching people through combative, you know, exciting, fun content that people just love to consume.
So
another creative outlet.
I mean, I was watching the whole thing before, like we'd love to incorporate this type of stuff into
I was just going to say, I mean, boy, if you could get in, you know, some HipHoponomics in with the in with the animation, I mean, that's, you know, that's a match made in heaven. That's phenomenal.
Actually, that is kind of our goal. Like my initial dream is, you know, I want to get into rap. I've been trying to get into rap for longer than, you know, this business for years, but I've just been sitting on all of my content waiting for the right platform, the right time, and the right investment, the right campaign. Because me, like I don't just want to do it like to create the art. Like I do create the art and I do get that satisfaction, but I want to have success in my ability to distribute, get that art heard, and create some sort of movement, some sort of business around art. It's possible, right? But mostly it's just done in those big, you know, corporate record labels who squeeze the artist out of every dime they have. Well, now the tables have turned. Now we have affiliate programs that I can attach links to everything that I've got. I'm going to start with an animated series, but I'm going to incorporate music into it. I mean, the sound engineer that we're using down in Boulder City, Nevada, I already heard a song and I was like, this is an interlude. This is an intermission in a chapter somewhere. And so now it's just going to be, it's not just plug and play with sponsors, which we can do in this day and age. It's amazing. Like we can create our own media company and we can create our own sponsors and we can make our own business, right? But we can also grab artists and plug them and play as well.
Sure. You know, I mean, this is a thing. Now, I'm just guessing. You don't have to tell me your age. I don't know. I mean, you look like younger people, and I'm going to guess in the 20s, maybe something like that.
Okay, it's a good guess. You're there.
So not that age has anything to do with excellence. You know, they're not. You know, those don't equate necessarily. So anyway, because you're obviously doing amazing things, but I know that it's kind of a knowledge going around, or a trope, kind of not a trope. A saying going around these days is that like young people have to actually, they can't go looking for jobs, like they have to create their own jobs, and you know they have to do this. And it's amazing because you're right, like how much you can do today through various technologies, just how well, you know, you can create a media company with a very small team, as to where, what, you know, 50 years ago, or well, I mean just 20 years ago, you know, to create an animation like you mentioned Dragon Ball Z, like I know what size team that takes. It's hundreds of people. you know, as to where now you don't need that. I mean, how big is your team that's putting this together? What does that look like? But I mean, credit to you for, you know, really just breaking out on your own and saying, no, we'll create the business. We'll do this.
Well, thank you. There's a few things. So one is we probably hired like 15 people this month.
Okay.
I mean, we're starting to get close to 30 people on our payroll, and it's global. I mean, our editor is in Pakistan. Our graphic design, we have 2 graphic design teams. One is in Pakistan, another's in Chile. Our animation team's in India. Our sound team is now dispersed between 4 people, and 3 of them are outside of the country. And really, that's kind of one of the biggest components. You know, we've come so far, and now there's so much more technology to get a lot more done. But on top of that, there's also a global marketplace. I can get online and I can hire someone in an hour, and they're the best of the best, and they're half the price of any American would even consider. I mean, that's huge. That's huge in order to get a company going. You got to keep those costs low. And so, you know, I love America and I'm all for it. But as far as our labor force and as far as like the future of globalization, America's going to take a hard hit.
Sure. Well, you're creating opportunities all around the world. Josh, did you have something?
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, that's the thing about free markets is that if people are into equality, they should really love free markets because it lifts up people in poorer countries and brings down people in richer countries, and it weighs and whims and moves, and it's like the weather, but it's the way of moving money around. It's just how it is.
It's laissez-faire.
Yeah. Actually, I'm an animator. In my last life, actually, I did animation for 15 years. And but mainly special effects and stuff in 3D. Yeah, so but yeah, I know the patience you need to have for animation.
Yes, a lot of revisions. Yeah, a lot of checks.
So what do you have as far as like I mean, you gave kind of an abstract of what this is, you know, there's going to be action, there's going to be a lot of this other stuff. Do you have like kind of a little more refined description of, say, the plot or whatever that this is going to be about? I mean, even though just hearing, you know, action, economics, blah, 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 I mean, you know, those are awesome, and I'm all for, you know, all of that. Just curious.
Sure. Okay. So let's get into the storyline. So we have like 4 sets of main characters. I mean, we're really building up a big cast. So 2 of the main stars, his name is Cardiff and Jacqueline. And they break they break through wormholes, and they're able to communicate with people across space and time. And so the first group that they really interact with is a trio of young adult, college-aged kids who don't quite understand what's going on, but they're starting to break away from the pack. They're starting to wake up to what's going on, and they want to figure something out. So it's a great opportunity. We come in, and through the cloud, we're able to show them a game that they can play. And it's about investing, but it's more so introducing crypto and metals. And so they plop down on this arena and they're ready to battle it out. You know, but before they can really start fighting, they need to have some sort of investment. And so, you know, how do we get this, when the trio wants to know how to get this game going, how to get the fight started, you know, Jacqueline ends an episode by saying, by investing in them. You know, you need to invest into these things in order to get the game going, in order to play the game.
So is this virtual reality that you're kind of setting up that these characters experience?
To be completely honest, I'm the only writer. I'm looking for other writers to bring into it. I'm setting up the beginning of everything, but I don't have the full confines. I don't have the full borders of how the story is actually going to play out for the long run. And the ultimate goal is to outsource everything. You know, have storylines, have characters, have plots and themes, have promotional campaigns, kind of in an open source platform where we curate everything down into an actual storyline that people want to see.
Well, I think that can be really cool if you have, I mean, absolutely, where the story you're telling, you're actually using the principles that the story is telling, you know, to create the actual story, you know, to create the entire animation itself. I mean, that's, you know, it's this just perfect circle of putting everything together.
So the spin that we have that really ties it to reality right now is our main antagonist is Jane Yellen, who is the head chairwoman of the bank of all banks. And the bank of all banks just prints and prints and prints money. And they spew it out into the world. But whenever they spew it out into the world, little drones come along controlled by bankers, and they suck up all the money, and the people are left at the floor trying to grab, but there's nothing to grab because the bankers took it all. So
right on.
That's their spin.
Well, you know, Josh, actually, I want to ask you, I know you'd said, and I know to some degree, like the industry that you worked in, you know, you did some work in Hollywood. Am I safe in saying that?
Oh, well, Hollywood came to Sydney a lot because Australia
Right.
had some good breaks in, you know, tax breaks and things.
So, you know, what I'm curious about, I think like what Cardiff and Jacqueline are doing, where you're introducing these ideas through the fictional medium, especially like animation, which is something like, I'll tell you, you know, earlier in the show, I mentioned, you know, Atlas Shrugged. I've been dying for an animated Atlas Shrugged forever because I mean, I think that's the only way it could really get done right, because there's a lot of, you know, admittedly, it's a lot of Ayn Rand's work is pretty risque stuff, and you can seem to get away with some of that in animation and still get it out there more so than you can in theaters.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? I would love to see that.
Yeah.
We haven't actually read Atlas Shrugged, but someone gave us a book and said, this is right up your alley.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd find it. So, but I mean, you know, I'm curious, Josh, like these ideas, like the economic ideas, you know, kind of like solid principles in investing, crypto, stuff like that. I mean, do you think that would, in the industry that you worked in, do you think, was anybody ever amenable to that? Because I've heard directors and stuff say that like Hollywood is the last bastion of free speech. And I always look and I go, well, I don't see it. You know, I don't see any truth getting laid out here. I mean, what do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. You know, some directors are. It's a very diverse crowd, and I mean, when I was at Channel 9, I even parked out the front with 9/11 truth stickers and things back in the day. You know, and also gave out these deception dollars, which had all these little economic rules and URLs all around it about gold, about silver, and all this stuff, and gave them out, and they were called the deception dollars because they were American dollars with all this.
Sure,
and
people thought you're crazy, and they ripped it up and they threw it away.
They left it, but no, heaps of them put them all over. They were everywhere at Channel 9 for a while on little post-it things. So that was fun. But yeah, it's, you know, I think it depends who you're talking to, but I think it's always, people are always trying to, you know, there are some very good examples of Hollywood really exposing things nicely, and more and more documentaries are coming out, and it's you know, I think it's becoming free. I think the control press is starting to just wane because mainstream is becoming online content is kind of mainstream.
Well, so to play off of that, it's all about the money. Where does the money go? So Hollywood isn't really the last place. It's just the place where all the money is kind of put into, and they have the ability to bring that free speech. But the real revolution is the ability to divert money into the hands of independent creators, of everyone. Anyone can generate money just by grabbing links and attaching it to something that people want to go see, and then that indirect link generates their money. So that's kind of my eyes are wide to see this golden opportunity right now. Is, you know, every single person can be, the ability to wake people up and financially educate them all rests behind the ability to sell something next to that educational process. People will love the educational process, but that educational process will not last very long if it does not generate money. Money's not good, money's not evil, money's just a tool. So if you can harness that tool and put it next to something that's good, which is what we plan to do, you know, this enlightenment of humanity could be done through some fun little animated series that just goes viral, right?
Yeah, you know, I think that we're in a time, especially in the United States, like where it's not, I don't know if one could use the term depressed economy because it's not exactly there yet, but I mean, you know, you think eventually the piper's got to get paid, and there are, you know, a lot of other depressing aspects, maybe not necessarily economy, certainly I think in the United States. You know, in fact, well, spoiler alerts, I know you guys haven't read Atlas Shrugged yet, but one of the things that Ayn Rand like kind of talks about in that is that when things do start to get very like socially and economically depressed in the United States in that book, is that people run to the movies, they run to entertainment, because like it's where they can just escape from this for a little while. And I think something that she didn't get to show off in her book was that what these people could run to are these very principled, and message filled content, animated movies like what you're doing. With Crypto versus Metals. Is that the title of it? Is that
is Crypto versus Metals LLC is the name of our company, and Crypto versus Metals is the name of the animation.
Got it. Okay. So, but if this stuff's available for them, especially today, if it's, I don't know, for free on YouTube or whatever model you're going to go with, I mean, it's fine. But if it's available to them, then when they start getting depressed, they have something that they can go to that I can actually show them how the hell do we get out of this? And I think that's a really powerful thing to have today that I don't really think was available before, because before you had the problem of VHS and distribution was a huge issue. Distribution's not a problem anymore. So I think you are on a golden opportunity, or maybe what should be called a Bitcoin opportunity, because that's really the standard these days, I think. And, I love it. I mean, I really do. I mean, Josh, you got anything else on this?
Well, hey, why is it crypto versus metal and not crypto versus fiat?
Well, crypto versus metals is both of the appreciating assets compared to fiat. So episode number 3, spoiler alert, we show the battlefield of crypto versus metals, but then we show the underworld. And so they flip the cloud over, they could see the underworld. And underneath is this big coliseum of big, massive fiat monsters fighting on their last leg in water of debt, and they can barely survive. And there's a lot of fiat monsters who are dead at the floor, and the banks are like surrounding it, and they're spewing and spewing, and the water level's rising, and so they have to close it and they have to take it back, and that's kind of where we get to. But it's to show that like they're on their last leg. That's something that you don't want to have going forward. And so crypto and metals are going to do well in the future. That's why. So
now I get it. All right. As you're the writer, right? And Jacqueline, what are you doing in the team?
I am the co-founder, board advisor. I also host another show on our channel, so Crypto vs. Metals on YouTube, if you want to look it up. I'm the host of the ETH Weekly News, so I do a lot of news updates on what's going on in the development of Ethereum and blockchain technology in terms of like governments using it and like big corporations.
How it's being implemented into the world.
Right. So that's another thing that I do besides the series, and then I do a lot of like back end stuff.
Yep. Henry. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because
every great man's a greater woman, right? Is that the?
Absolutely, keeping them organized.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, so how can everyone find out more about you?
Just typing Crypto versus Metals on YouTube, and that's going to be our main source, our main focus. And so Jacqueline is actually leading our series with like the most views with this ETH Weekly News. I have Stone Cold Truths, and I get stoned sometimes, and I'm just like, here's a prophecy that I'm seeing before my eyes. And it's fun. But then like following us now, our animated series is preparing, like we're on IMDb, and so like, and our website is about to be released, and it's, cryptoversemetals.com. But we're preparing for something big. We're preparing something powerful, and we're reserving a large portion of our cryptocurrency to release, like when we debut episode 1, 2, and 3 with our website ready to go, our affiliate programs all tied together on landing pages. We're going to spit advertising dollars through and harness the people who are looking for this stuff, who want to see it, and that's going to be our first real like cycle, a real churn. So if they're interested, Crypto vs. Metals on YouTube, and just subscribe and wait for the animated series to come out. But if they're already in the space, we're going to find them and we're going to reach them by February.
Well, it sounds like you got a great recipe going to put all this together. In fact, I even really I'm going to be checking this out. I want to see Jacqueline's little news segments, because I think mixing nonfiction with fiction is really, really powerful to have that, both of those elements available to people at any given moment, say on your YouTube channel or whatever. I think that's really, really important, and kind of been a theme throughout this entire episode, actually, of the Tatiana show. So, yeah, Josh, what do you got?
No, I agree. Totally.
Absolutely.
Totally.
So Cardiff and Jacqueline, thank you so much for being on the show. I think it's a phenomenal idea.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see this. I'm excited. I'm a huge fan of animation. I watch Voltron, all this other stuff these days. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm on for it. So thanks so much for being on the Tatiana show.
Hey, thanks so much for having us. We have a lot prepared. And we're just preparing for exponential growth in our company to match what's going on in the crypto space now. So
sure. I hope all the best.
What an attitude. Fantastic. All the best. Yeah.
All the best.
Wow, Brian, I'll tell you, a lot of these candidates are great candidates for things like these artist coins that Tatiana's been at the forefront of, the inventor of.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, artist coins, there's things like Tokenly. I mean, there's a bunch of different technologies out there right now that really can empower artists, which I think is so important, because art in general is like the thing is really the only thing that's infinitely scalable. Like, I mean, you can just keep going forever. Everything else you run out of eventually, it's
that and fiat.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, as long as you have the paper to print, or the trees to print the paper. Yeah. But it's funny, because I think a lot of tech companies, I mean, you look at even Apple, who has all the fiat in the world, they're getting into art now. They're starting their own network and everything, because I think they know that's the only way that they can continue. Eventually you can't sell a gold slab to people for a gold or a rose gold or a black slab, that has a touch screen on it to everybody forever. But art can just keep going up and up and up and up. So it's such a great business opportunity, and it's so cool to see it with these kind of principles, economic principles and whatever else, liberty principles, and all of that. It's so cool for those projects to be out there. So, isn't it? Oh, it is. It's amazing. So I got to give shout outs to all the sponsors of the Tatiana show. So of course, Josh, tell everybody about Voltoro. Come on, man.
Yeah, look, we've had a massive raise just finished recently, closed our seed round, which we were really happy about. I'm so proud of our team. And it was 7 figures, and it was just fantastic, because we've been trying for like 2 years to really build something great. And so we allow people to trade Bitcoin and gold, so Bitcoin versus gold again. And yeah, it's a full order book of allocated physical gold sitting in Switzerland, fully insured, fully audited by one of the largest auditing firms in the world. And yeah, why trade into fiat, right? I got into Bitcoin to get away from fiat. Why trade back into fiat to make some profits? Trade back and forth into allocated gold instead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I always call gold, I say that's like the original cold storage, and so you want to decentralize your wealth, and gold is, taking that Bitcoin, converting into gold back and forth, whatever. I mean, I think that's a great thing.
Just a little bit to diversify it. It's really important. You never know if there's some big mathematical hiccup somewhere or something. I don't know. It's just 3,000, we talk about the obituary of Bitcoin. It's 8 years, and you see all the thousands of times it's died. But it's the same with gold, but except gold, it's 3,000 plus years of, it being dead. And it's, it is it for a reason. And and so people really like trading them, and that's what you can do.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. And of course, to keep an eye on all of these cryptocurrencies that we keep talking about, you go to cryptocompare.com. That's a tab I keep open on my computer at all times, ready to check on, whatever's happening with Bitcoin, Zcash, Litecoin, and boy, Litecoin, what a run. And then of course, freeross.org, one of the most important sites, one of the most important stories on the internet, in my opinion, that people need to keep track on. Third Key Solutions, boy, you want to secure that Bitcoin, you want to be checking out those people. Sovereigntech.com, which, hey, I'm going to give it a minute. That's my show, baby.
There you go, Sovereign Tech, folks. Tell us about Sovereign Tech.
So Sovereign Tech, Yeah, well, Sovereign Tech is a pretty wild ride. I start yelling right from, as soon as the microphone gets unmuted, I'm screaming from the top of my lungs at every tech giant that'll hear me. But Sovereign Tech's really all about, it's just science and technology and how it can help set you free. And I try to make it very entertaining, very sexy. And I don't often have guests. This is nice. This is really fun getting to do the show with you, Josh, because I usually don't get to like interview people so much.
Yeah, right.
It's just not a part of the DNA of the show. But I guarantee anybody that goes to listen to Sovereign Tech at sovereigntech.com, that's SOVRYN, it is like something you will never hear, you've never heard before or anywhere else. I mean, it is a very, very unique and wild animal. So, but another show that is. Yeah. Another show also that I'm on is Sex and Science Hour, which I'm on that with the lovely and hyper intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy, which I know you're also a fan of Dr. Murphy as I am. Josh.
She's fantastic. What a person. What a person. Yep.
One of the best.
Yeah, one of the original Bitcoin podcasters.
Yeah.
And an absolutely amazing person to boot.
Yeah, absolutely. She's phenomenal. So sexandsciencehour.com to hear that. Of course, netkey.com, NETKI. Then, there's Beauty Counter, which Josh and I can't really speak to putting on makeup. I don't know, unless Josh, I don't know if you're that kind of metro.
Sometimes when the lights are all on and, no, but, who knows? I think in like 100 years, all men will be wearing makeup, that the industry would have like clawed itself because there's a whole population there that could be sucked on by the teat of industry.
Marketed too, we'll put it in a nice way.
Marketed too,
yeah, no, you're right. And you know what, I personally, I don't care. Dudes wearing makeup, whatever. I mean, let it ride. That's fine. Yay for the freed markets. I'm all for it. And of course, libertycraze.com if you want to get some, I believe, some very cool t-shirts, which I always love wearing wild t-shirts and getting compliments. Great way to spread a message and get some activism out there.
Definitely.
So that is it. Josh, again, it was a real honor to do this show with you. First time.
It was mine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great times.
Yeah. And folks, thumbs up onto the show, of course, subscribe, tell your neighbors.
Yeah, tell everybody about the Tatiana Show. You can just there's a whole website, thetatianashow.com, that you can go to find every episode as well as all the sponsors. And, I don't think there's any pictures of your good looking mug on there, Josh, but maybe we can change that.
Yeah, we don't want to break screens.
Yeah. You see Tatiana, her face is just plastered everywhere, but you never see Josh. But anyway.
He's got a face that deserves it.
That's right. So anyway, again, just such an honor. And Tatiana, I'm sure will be back in the next episode. But I thank her for allowing me to, both her and of course you, Josh, for allowing me to sit on it. Everybody have a great day and hold on to that crypto. You're doing great.